west region of Cameroon, whereby a military man was killed. And after his killing, there was a kind of halt in the northwest region. And we heard that yesterday, Sunday, one of the generals of these armed groups was killed. He was found somewhere lying dead. And we discovered that when the separatists come and hit and run away, the military come and maybe the population that is innocent suffers the pains. And so this has been described as the Hammurabi retributive code. You know, in the Hammurabi time, it was a kind of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, where you do something, somebody hits back. So that is what we have noticed between the states and the separatists. So before we begin, let us go for a jingle break. When we come back, then we'll continue the program. Okay, at this time, I want to begin with you, Dr. Busi, in the northwest region where we hear things are really hot. Now it has been a kind of the Hammurabi retributive code where you hit me, I hit you back. And so it is like a kind of routine now between the separatists and the military. What's your take about what has been happening all this way, especially what is ongoing now in the northwest region of Cameroon?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
I want to say that this problem of Anglophone crisis is still ongoing because there's reluctance in looking at the root causes of the Anglophone crisis. That's the truth. And we know of a monologue that was held in Yaoundé as a major national dialogue, and lately the Prime Minister, head of government, came up with a committee, a follow-up committee that they wanted to see how the major national dialogue resolutions has been followed. To tell you that to a greater extent, the Anglophone crisis, the solutions taken at the major national dialogue were just cosmetic. And Mr. Moderator, when two elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. And we have seen situations where market women, children are running for their lives for crossfire. It's painful. Where people are running and they abandon their goods in the market. To say that it's really painful. The people in the northwest and southwest, they are living in fear. They are afraid of the unknown. And the situation that happened where a military person was killed and Bamenda was held hostage by the military. And I feel that in times like this, we have generals and commanders, and we have the governor of the northwest region. I think that this is not a moment to put tension in the region when a situation happened like that. And you saw how stores were being closed, and for almost 3 days, people could not travel. Interurban transport was difficult in Bamenda. As we are talking, the city mayor of Bamenda has stopped the circulation of bikes in Bamenda city. To tell you that we are talking of a problem and we are adding more problem. These youths who are riding their Okadas, and now that they will not be working, how will they cater for their families, Mr. Moderator? Because they are putting more pain again on the common man in the street. And I feel that our military, our government must be diplomatic. Also, the non-state actors also, they are putting pain on their people, whether they like it or not. Because when they come and hit, they run. The people, the common man suffers the effect. And we feel that it is high time we avoid the blame games. Because at the end of the day, it is our mother, our children. You could see children of 5 years, you could see children of 8 years, 10 years, and mothers, parents running for their lives. And some ran and went, and they ran and went to the police station. That's where they found security. And looking at this, I don't feel that it was the place of the city mayor to just sign a communique and say, oh, by right, that's because when you look, people are living a hand-to-mouth life in Bamenda.
But it was just in certain areas.
In certain areas, people are living a hand-to-mouth life in Bamenda, and you cannot stop Okada at the moment. It is not, because when you look at the situation in Bamenda, a single military has been killed, and you hold a town hostage for 3 days. But we have seen situation where people have been killed on the other hand, and the town has not been held hostage. So the solution here is that when you hold a town hostage, you put more suffering on the people. So we should look for lasting solution, because the military cannot hold a town hostage. We are living in a democracy, and we feel that in our regions we have governors. It is the responsibility of our governors to put communicate, because I've seen situations where when things happen, at times you see a joke comes up with a text, a city mayor comes up with a text, an SDO comes up with a text, and I ask myself, who is the head of the region? So we must respect hierarchy and work in a diplomatic way, because we are putting more fear on the people. When situations happen, you come, you ransack houses, you move around, you ransack people, you are putting more tension on the people. And recently, a lady just died because because the lady was running, a lady died today because of the crossfire. So what we are saying is that it's not all Anglophones in the northwest and southwest who have held arms. So our military must be very diplomatic when situations happen like that. And the non-state actors, which they call themselves the Amber Boys, they should also understand that if they are fighting for a cause and they are putting the people again on suffering, then the cause they are fighting, are they fighting for themselves or they are fighting for the people? So I still look back and say that the solution to this problem is for us to organize an intensive, genuine, inclusive dialogue with trust building, where all those state actors will be there, and looking at the Prime Minister and Head of Government, whom I respect, coming out with a follow-up committee to see that the solution or the resolutions of the major national dialogue are respected. I ask myself, even if we respect all the solutions of the major national dialogue, are we sure peace will reign? Because we are not still looking at the root cause. Those who took the self-determination issue on tax are still in prison. Even if all the resolutions of the major national dialogue is respected today and implemented effectively, are we sure the guns will stop in the northwest and southwest? Okay. So we need to be genuine, we need to be honest, and I still feel that the solution lies in an open dialogue. We need to go and negotiate, where we talk issues with the non-state actors who are in prison, the Amazonian leaders who are in prison. They are the key to the solution of the Anglophone crisis. And I also say that there are people like Mark Barita, because one of the major resolution that the Prime Minister and Head of Government is talking now is back to school. And Mark Barita, and as Mark Barita, as one of the non-state actors, is in support that children should go to school. And I ask myself, even if Mark Barita says children should go to school, the people in ground zero that are holding the guns, are we sure they'll drop their guns? So what we are saying is that government should hold a genuine dialogue with the Naira 10. And after that, when resolutions will be taken, any person holding guns now can be called names. But as for now, I still feel that Mr. Moderator, we are playing a hide and seek game. We just need to be honest to solve the Anglophone crisis, because the people are really in fear, whether we like it or not.
Let me come to Mr. Njomosiri. Could it be that the government is just trying to play around with this crisis where, you know, Minister Tanganji stop people from buying machetes, or except you register it? We find a situation where maybe a military is killed or something happens, the innocent population suffers. But what worries the people is that why don't they go and check where these guns are passing, because these guys have guns that even some of the military don't have. Look at the general who was killed. He had AK-47. So is it proper to make the population suffer than going to stop the entrances of these guns?
From your question, one can depict two angles to answer. First, the corridor through which the weapons of mass destruction, notably these guns of very high magnitude of killings. But in the other hand, the responsibilities of the people to denounce acts of terrorism is also put at stake. So to start with the first aspect, which is the corridor, it brings us directly to what we call the war economy, which is an industry that it's enriched,
so lucrative
and lucrative around the world and benefits even people inside some government. For those who have watched important movies in those days, like the 24 Hours Chrono, you see that right in the security council and units, there are elements there that are working for fugitive. And without talking with certitude that that could be the case with us, one cannot deny the fact that our boundaries are porous and that money sometimes could make it even more porous. As we talk today, an expatriate was caught at the international airport in Douala with a heavy quantity of cocaine when he was already inside the plane and everything was already set for him to go, just that his back called for more attention and the police had to search it, and now he is currently answering questions at the Douala judicial system. So, like that particular case, we have recently heard from the defense, how would they call the people at the borders, yes, those who manage our borders,
the
custom officers, and they were saying that the government has put in place a lot of reforms to see that some element among them who have been selling out government strategy and participating in gun smuggling and other weapons of mass destruction could be fished out, and their sentence and their punishment will be very high. But do I trust the government to that extent that I will ask us that, okay, let us rest because the government is working hard to quench the issue of gun smuggling into our country? That pushed me to answer the recent street demonstration, which I personally term caricature, that some women staged in the nation capital, political capital, Yaoundé,
with the Minister of Women's and Social
Affairs.
And
Social Affairs, Professor Teresa Marie Ondoa, and other before them went to the U.S. Embassy and the Belgian Embassy, staging that they know exactly where former Cameroonians who are now settling in their countries are, and so that they should do everything to repatriate them back to their homeland, since why they are instigating violence in their home country. Note should be taken here that most of our brothers that are abroad, for most, are no more Cameroonian. In short, they have taken a second nationality and sometimes they are acting as foreigners. And so asking a foreign country to, expatriate their own citizen to Cameroon is like we have to revisit our diplomatic ties. I will really leave that aspect because for a fallen regime like ours, I must say that the center is not very strong. Things are truly falling apart. And that is why even our diplomatic ties are not really strong. If not, what can explain that 4 years after, we have been able to identify all our brothers that are abroad, including the one that have been mentioned here, and nothing can be done to track them down. Now, I introduced 2 aspects. You permit me talk about the role and responsibility of the people to learn. That if the military today are also very harsh on the people, it's because according to the peace building initiative in every wartime environment, they believe that the people, the residents, also have the responsibility to denounce fugitives that live within them. Because we are talking here of an asymmetric war where you don't really know where your opponent is. And so you have to be searching them through unorthodox methods. For example, I don't want to pretend here, but the Muyuka case with Tumazan, when it was reported that military, she was frequently visiting the military, I understood that could be a military strategy, because they know it's a beautiful information. Yes, getting information, giving her some money, and she was vulnerable. So that is where the responsibility of the people of the Northwest, notably Bamenda, Kemi Street, and the other area that have recently witnessed these gun exchanges, to come in place, because they are supposed to denounce the people who are practicing. And we are talking at the time where 2 weeks ago, the microfinance was robbed, and one of these general you are naming here is alleged to have been one of the orchestrators of that act. And so the quantity of money that was found at his disposal, reinformed the military in that effect.
But don't you think
so
that...
Just to learn before you bring in that your question, to say that I have a picture here in front of me of how to de-escalate violence. Okay? All the stakeholders actually have a role to play. And instead of blaming the military here, I also call the people to book. Because if truly you know that there are separatists living within you and you don't denounce them to the appropriate quarter, believe me, when an element, I think it was a policeman, not even a military, that was killed, but he had a position of responsibility.
Inspector.
An inspector. So when such a personality is killed, you don't expect the government that is already sacrificing a lot in terms of, because they have chosen the military approach as solution. So they are doing everything to be present in the community. And so when they are already trying like that, and at the same time, one of them, a hierarchy for that matter, is killed in such a barbaric way, brother, all they know is terror, because they are being trained. We should never forget that those who have the legitimate rights to hold guns are the military. And so that is what they know best to do. Like we expect, excuse me,
guns, they are there to protect.
It is a policeman that is supposed to protect the citizens. The military are not supposed to be in the national territory. Military are supposed to be at the borders. So we should be able to share responsibility.
You talked
I'm not justifying. I'm not justifying nobody to misunderstand.
Yes, I've gotten you. I just wish to come to something. You talk of, the populists denouncing these people because they live amongst us. We can't deny the fact. But don't you think that the innocent ones are vulnerable? In the sense that, look at the interview we got today of some of the children who were threatened that if they don't join them, they'll kill them and kill their families. Oof. And you say,
Mr. Wambo, you don't have to be naive.
No, I want to have your idea about that.
Excuse me, you don't have to be naive, especially when you have a fugitive in your hand. Because at that point they will cook up any kind of story to make you, because they are buying emotion. But when they are in the bush, we all saw the way Tumazan was sacrificed with a cutlass. All of us, we agree in such a we denounce that barbaric move. And those are the very people that if you catch them in that act, they are going to turn and start giving you story. Personally, on this platform, I have been vulnerable to a level that I could also use an arm to harm somebody. I mean, even before now, if you trace my history, how I grew up, you always see that he has always been at a position between a hammer and a nail. And I've always struggled not to take the violence move. So we always have a choice.
Okay.
We always have to choice. I want to insist. Coming back because I wanted to learn to talk about how to de-escalate. You did mention when you were asking our learned doctor on the platform about the role of the city mayor who just came in and sealed the shop. And that then luring the population, the common man, to an increased level of misery. And I want to now ask truly, in December 1996, Cameroonians agree on a certain constitution that was to devolve power to the local and regional. Before we get there, this year 2020, February the 9th, an election took place where these so-called local elective authorities drew their power, which is supposed to be from the universal suffrage. Now, the percentage of people who is assumed to have elected them is less than 0.2% of the people living within Northwest and Southwest. I want to ask here the legitimacy and the legality of that stepped upon himself to stop people from going for the activities. And this is what we are denouncing. We are denouncing because we sit quiet on certain issues, and when the consequences start falling out, we start decrying. He personally does not have any accountability, should I say feeling, to the people. He only feels about the hierarchy because they did everything to place him there. And when we come up to denounce things like this, people should be able to see through our eyeglasses. It's not always of our interest when we denounce that. Please, we cannot be moving on people's corpses. We cannot be marching blocks to enter offices, because truly when we get there, the people will not look us as their representative, and you cannot force somebody to trust you. Trust is something that you earn. You cannot force trust. I wanted to make it known to my people so that they should be able to follow the processes that we are guiding them, because we read this thing within the line and we make sure that when we share with them, it is also for their it is first for their interest before we are going to benefit whatever fallout.
Okay, Dr. Busi, looking at the stoppage of bikes in some areas in the northwest region, do you really see it as a serious solution? Because now these guys, the separatists, who have given 1 week for the SDO to revise the embargo, or what I'll call it, that bikes shouldn't parade the streets, that after 1 week it will be hell. So you say conflicting situation here. This one hits and I hit, an eye for an eye. How do you see the days ahead as far as this is concerned?
Mr. Williams, if you read history, you know what they call remote causes and root causes. And there's a problem in our country and we're following the shadow. That's the truth. There is a problem. The Anglophone crisis, for 4 years, people are suffering, people are dying, the military is dying, civilians are dying, those who have taken arms are dying, everyone is dying. And people are refugees, our chiefs are not in their palaces, our funds are not in their condoms, to tell you the gravity of the Anglophone crisis. And we are there as administrators. You are a city mayor. You have just been elected.
Who elected?
You have just been elected. Let me put it as such. You have just been elected. And you know what a city mayor means. A city mayor, just the name city mayor, means that you should be there for your people. City, Bamenda city. And then mayor for that city. If you are not there for the people in that city, who are you there for, Mr. Moderator?
But I think the city mayor has been doing a lot.
Is that,
if you follow, since he has been elected, he has been meeting the people, giving gifts, trying to talk with them,
cosmetic
even
issues.
appealing to the separatists.
Let's be frank here, Mr. Mwambo Williams. I think that if every stakeholder, because all of us are stakeholders here, and it is our responsibility to denounce things that are not good for the well-being of our country, whether it's separatists or military. If if you are in a neighborhood, you see a non-state actor doing something that is wrong, you can report for safety reasons.
Okay.
But the issue now is that not all Anglophones are holding guns, and the fear factor is there. People have been threatened. People have paid ransom. The fear factor, the psychodissonance of people, the cognitive mind of people, the mental map of people, the mental model psychologically, the mindfulness of people is not the same. People go like those market women. First of all, food market is not a safe environment for them, for what has been happening all this time around.
Yeah.
And when you now say you are stopping bikes, how does it facilitate the businesses of these market women? Because if you look at this buy and sell them, most of them use bikes. Most of these buy and sell them in Bamenda food market use bikes to transport them in the market and back. Most of them don't even use taxis. And if you are stopping most of these youths who are, and because on the communique, on the text, you haven't given a time frame when they will resume work. To tell you that most of these youth, they live on the bikes, Mr. Moderator. I think that our city mayor must always collaborate and do a meet the people tour. If something happens like that, why can't you call the Okada people and talk to them? Talk to them. And I think that our Okadas in Bamenda and the Southwest region, they should have a trademark. You can even say all Okadas will have a trademark. And if you are not having such a trademark, you will not ride in that town. All of them should have a kind of dress that they put on. There are cosmetic solutions that you can put when there's a conflict, Mr. Moderator. Let me say there's a conflict, and you cannot entirely say all these towns in Bamenda I stop circulation of bikes.
Okay, what's your take about what happened in the Northwest a few days ago? It was a kind of suicide mission, a deadly mission, according to what we got.
Kind of state of emergency.
These guys were told to go and kill all these ex-combatants at the DDR center. And who was told? They were told by their leaders abroad that they would send them so much money. So that's the operation they were really targeting towards, but it failed. Now, do you see these guys at the DDR center very vulnerable?
Mr. Moderator, first of all, I want to say those guys at the DDR, since the major national dialogue was held, we have seen situations in the Northwest and Southwest where most of them are even complaining. They don't have food to eat. And recently in Boya, one of the director of that center was appointed. A new director was appointed to say that the machinery that was put in place was not doing its job very well. And I want to say that DDR, when you look at DDR, especially in war-torn countries, DDR has a very important role to play. And in our own context, we are so cosmetic about DDR. And that is why it is facing a lot of problems. And many guys who are holding arms cannot put down their arms. DDR has to rehabilitate, first of all, the mind of the people. Okay. It's not all about for them to have food to eat on a daily basis. We have not seen situations where experts have been sent there to work. We need clinicians to work on the minds of these people, because people who have taken arms, Mr. Moderator, and some of them have taken drugs, you need to rehabilitate their mind.
But we are told they are doing that.
We have not seen such experts doing that. We have not seen such experts that are doing that. And the center does not have all those facilities that can keep the guys going.
But Dr. Busi, we see them go on social media, on television, denouncing their former colleagues. Don't you see that they have been brainwashed and they are almost fine now with their thoughts and actions?
Mr. Mwambo, most of the times, even when I see these guys, how sure are you? To be frank, I used to see a video where a minister went to one of these places in the Southwest region, and they said, you saw a guy with a funny hair. They say the guy have dropped arm. I will ask myself, how are you sure that that guy is an armed boy?
Okay.
we have to be very sensitive. We don't have to be emotional because you see somebody with a dreadlock talking, you just say, no, this guy is an amber boy that has dropped arm. The thing is that even the government officials, we have to be honest to give accountability about these boys, to be sure whether they are these amber boys we are saying. And on the other hand, I also feel that we have to collaborate with the government because despite every government will always want to keep the integrity of the country, whether you like it or not. And I feel that the stress is too much on the government, and we are calling on the non-state actors that you cannot fight a war like this and win. Even the military cannot win this kind of war.
Okay.
And let them drop their weapons because it is their own people back at home that are suffering. You are calling yourself a non-state actor, and in the village you are controlling the village, and you have forgotten that the organigram for a village to function, they are state machineries, and you cannot rule through guns. You cannot force people in their community through guns to respect your own kind of laws that you have put that are not laws of the state. So we should look at this thing on both sides. And when you look at some of these non-state actors, you ask yourself whether these are people who want to lead with the way they behave. So if you want to lead, as you are saying, you should start showing examples, because the mothers in the village, they are suffering from these arms you are holding. So we cannot solve this problem with guns. There's no way.
Okay, while we end with this topic, Mr. Njomo Cyril, we have seen now that, these guys who have dropped their guns, their former colleagues are like trying to do away with them, with what happened in the Northwest, because they were really targeting towards the DDR center. What do you have to say about their vulnerability? Secondly, what do you have to say about what is ongoing on the social media of a prophecy from a Nigerian prophet that he's giving 72 hours, some of these leaders will go down, and after that we started seeing some of them, like the general who was killed?
Okay, with the first question on the vulnerability of ex-combatants who are now in the DDR center, what should be said concerning their issue is that they need to be rehabilitated and security measures put in place to cater for them, because it is normal that they are considered as black legs in their previous families. For those of their brothers that have remained in the bush, simply think that they are black legs, and so their life does not mean anything. They need to pay the price for their betrayal. But I also want to talk, because we are gradually moving to the era of back to school, and it's going to be a very sensitive topic as far as these two regions is concerned. We are talking at a time where 6 months children of intermediary classes have not gone to school, and it's quite a lot to be managing within COVID, and at the same time trying to deal with the Anglophone crisis, which now have so many voices echoing from every direction without really a focus. I want to say it is a lost battle for the separatists as they are fighting, because there are other brothers who are still Anglophone, who are eating with the government, have done everything possible to water the struggle that actually is genuine. And from my reading on the wall, certainly Mr. Biya will not be the person to solve this crisis, because his present administration is doing everything with our brothers Anglophone that are in the government and their families back in the city, and some privileged ones that work with the government, to make sure that they perpetuate the imperial system on the people, forcing them with a cane or with a carrot for those who have salaries. And so it's a kind of dictatorship that people are living. And all I can say is that for the few separatists that are left in the bushes, they are not fighting for the struggle, they are fighting for their stomach. And they should be sacked down, because truly, those who are going to revolutionize Northwest and Southwest are yet to be born. Most of the pretexts that I'm seeing here and there, everybody's all looking for what to eat, and the struggle is not really what it ought to be. Back to the second part of the question about the prophets that are, they are doing their job. Every prophet does exactly what he thinks that is going to indoctrinate those who follow him, so that he look like somebody who see into the future. Just that we are still within COVID-19, where we expected most of them to actually predict the future. Those who dare, we all knew what happened, is they all missed the target, and to me they are thieves. The community where they are allowed to function is because it benefits the government, or for the case of Cameroon, the Jacobin government. Because personally, most of those things are, they are fabricated to maintain a particular way of seeing life that unfortunately has not helped the African child. Recently, I have been driving a tag line. I tell those who insult my various publications that make sure when you are asking me a service, you don't say I beg. You remove money and pay, because what I've discovered with most Cameroonians is that they don't want to promote what is good, but when they need a service from you, they come begging. No, learn to train yourself so that you will never beg for something. I have posts on social media that somebody who is just like him, tomorrow if you ask me a service, I will be able to render it for you. But if you see my post every day, you jump on it, because you don't want to be identified with mayor, and tomorrow you need my service, you start begging. I can never shed tears. And I have a community of people like that I look at them and smile. You see, people are misery. People cannot eat, but they are looking good. I'm preaching now currently that make sure you don't be nice. Okay, be real, because niceness does not fit you. And I will never give my thing to somebody who cannot support me publicly. You see my things, you snub. And when it comes to begging, you come and you send your hand. You think I can help?
Okay, Dr. Busi,
so,
you have...
Let me learn. You asked me two
questions
that
yes.
I have done my best to answer. And I was trying to tell you that Mr. Bia Paul and his gang will unfortunately not bring the solution we want for the Anglophone crisis. And that we need to build institutions, not on sandy soil, but definitely on rocks. It's rather unfortunate that the atrocities and the misery is going to continue, because even the women that were our last resort are now playing politics in Yaoundé. When they come on air and they are singing what I saw them staging in Yaoundé, Mr. Mwambo, between you and me, do you think that the noise they are making there actually have an effect here? The answer is no. The answer is no. Throughout the day, I was following the national station. It is our brother that are breaking news there in English. Come and see the kind of thing that they say about the Anglophone crisis, and you tell me whether that is possible. No, we should be serious for once to say that if this kind of communication is going to continue, and that is what they call our national station, they better close the nonsense and we keep quiet.
Okay, you have 10 seconds to conclude, and I would like you to respond to the prophecy of Prophet Johnson Suleiman, who said he's giving 72 hours for the leaders of this.
Looking at the status quo, Mr. Moderator, I won't really go into details to say things, because I'm not a prophet. I'm a Christian, but I want prophets also to be genuine. Like one Mr. Njomo Siri said, but I think that they are genuine prophets. They are prophets and they are prophets. There are some prophets that say things that happened. There are some prophets, but at the end of the day, it depends on God's time. But I want to say that Mr. Moderator, my learned friend here, the politician, should not be too... I know that we know that religion is part of the sufferings of Africans, because the coming of religion, the white man religion to Africa, it has revolutionized our mind to want to be like them. And that is why many at times we need an independent mind. What would change Cameroon is a change of mindset of leadership. I think that leadership is a main problem Africans are facing and we are facing at this point in time. We could see Nelson Mandela sacrifice his life for his country. We pray that His Excellency President Paul Biya, as a father of the nation, should also think that it is the people who elected him at the helm of power, they are Cameroonians. And some parts of the country is in pain for almost 4 years. I ask myself, those ministers and members of government who are in Yaoundé living in their comfort zone, can they feel the heat the people in the northwest and southwest, especially in the hinterland, are feeling? And I also ask myself, when I saw some members of government and religious leaders in Yaoundé talking with the follow-up committee of His Excellency the Prime Minister and Head of Government, are they honest to the Prime Minister to tell him that the decisions, the resolutions that we took in the Major National Dialogue can't really work because they're still fighting in the northwest and southwest? There's no peace.
We are coming to that.
Mr. Moderator, at the end of the day, I will answer your question by saying that there are still genuine prophets, and if you are a prophet of God, and you are working with the Holy Spirit, then fine. But if you are a prophet, you feel that you are working for your own self, then that's the question mark. I don't judge prophets, but God judged them. So we should be real, like what Mr. Jomo Siri says, because realness is what brings about deep perception in problem solving, because most people are fake and two-sided.
Okay.
So we should be real in solving our real life problems.
Dear viewers of Cross Views, we shall go for a jingle break, just a jingle break. When we come back, we shall use just about 5-7 minutes to just talk a bit about the Major National Dialogue, the follow-up committees that have decided to brace up and make things very perfect. We shall come to this topic in few days ahead when the committee shall be, or the Major National Dialogue shall be 1 year. We shall come to it in its greater purpose. So this time we shall just talk briefly. Let's go for a jingle break. Welcome back, dear viewers of